Good afternoon. I'll call to order the regular February meeting of the Minneapolis Charter Commission and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Commissioner Boone,
Present.
Commissioner Davis Carter,
Present.
Commissioner Doherty,
Present.
Commissioner Garcia,
Present.
Commissioner Ginder,
Present.
Commissioner Hill,
Present.
Commissioner Kozak,
Here.
Commissioner Metke,
Present.
Commissioner Perry,
Here.
Commissioner Rubenstein,
Present.
Commissioner Sandberg,
Present.
Commissioner Smith,
Here.
Vice Chair Hawkins is excused, and Chair Clegg.
Here.
We have 13 present.
Thank you. That constitutes a quorum. Just so everyone knows, you can see on the screens in front of you that we are on TV now. So that means extra important is the red and green switch on your microphone. If you are talking, it should be green. If you are not going to talk for an extended period of time, it should be red. Any questions? Very good. We'll move on to adoption of the agenda, the second item on the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion Sandberg.
Is there a second?
Second, Mechie.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or are there any additions to the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of adopting the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. That motion carries. Next is acceptance of the minutes from our regular meeting of December 7th. As you recall, we canceled our January meeting because of weather. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes, which were sent out online?
So moved, Rubenstein.
Second. Hill.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. The next item is the chair's report, and I have nothing to report that's not already on the agenda. So we'll move on to item 5, election of 2023 Charter Commission officers. As I told you 2 years ago, and then again 1 year ago, I will not be running for another term as chair this evening. My goals, as I stated back then, were to get us through the government structure amendment and to get us through redistricting. Those items have been completed, so I'm not going to be running as chair. I will, of course, remain on the commission. I've also had conversations with Vice Chair Hawkins, and she's under doctor's orders not to attend public meetings. So she has decided to back away from the vice chair position. She will remain on the Charter Commission and is hopeful that she will soon be able to return to attending public meetings. So that position is also vacant. And as you will recall, Peter Ginder is our current secretary. So I will open nominations for the position of chair of the Charter Commission. Are there any nominations? Commissioner Rubenstein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have the honor of nominating Peter Ginder as chair of the Charter Commission.
Peter Ginder has been nominated. Commissioner Ginder, do you accept the nomination?
Mr. Chair, I do accept.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations for chair? Any other nominations for chair? Hearing none, we'll close nominations. All in favor of Peter Ginder for the position of chair of the Charter Commission, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Congratulations, Commissioner Ginder. Commissioner Ginder, with your permission, I will continue to chair for the rest of this meeting.
That would be fine. Commissioner Clegg.
Thank you. Next, for the position of vice chair, are there any nominations? Commissioner Sandberg.
Thank you. I would like to nominate Commissioner Rubenstein for vice chair.
Commissioner Rubenstein, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations for the position of vice chair? Other nominations? Seeing none, all in favor of Commissioner Rubenstein for vice chair, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Thank you, and congratulations, Commissioner Rubenstein. Next, for the position of secretary, are there any nominations for the position of secretary? Commissioner Metke.
Yes, I nominate Commissioner Garcia.
Commissioner Garcia has been nominated. Commissioner Garcia, do you accept the nomination?
I do, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations for the position of secretary? Seeing none, all in favor of Commissioner Garcia for the position of secretary, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. That carries. Congratulations, Commissioner Garcia, and congratulations to our new officers.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Kozak.
I think I can speak for everyone on the commission, and so I'll just take a minute or two to thank the chairman for his long service as chair. I believe, except for maybe my first meeting 12 years ago, or 12 and a half years ago, you've been the chair. In the distant past, I know occasionally we've had some disagreements, DFL factional disagreements when you lived on the north side. But I must say that I have not worked with anyone who has been more conscientious, more gracious, more open to discussion, and had that remarkable ability, even when occasionally a controversial issue would arise, who could somehow keep things peaceful and get it resolved. And I've been around government a long time, and I have not seen the likes of our chairman and how he handled this thing over these last many years. So I just think on behalf of everybody, I would say have my thanks, and I'm sure I speak for everyone else.
Thank you very much. I would say that having been chair for 12 plus years now, charter change happens in geologic time, not in real time, and it's pretty amazing what this group has accomplished and initiated over the last dozen years. If you consider what our charter looked like in 2010 and compared it to what it looks like today, it's, for better or for worse, it's totally different, and I think it's amazing what this group has accomplished, and I was proud to be chair for those years. So thank you very much. Next item is the 2022 annual report, which was sent out in advance. Do we have any hard copies here, Mr. Clerk?
Chair Clegg, we do not have hard
Okay.
copies.
What I would
We
suggest,
have one for the public, but
what I would suggest that everybody do is, if you haven't already, take a look at it, especially to make sure that the attendance reported for you is correct, in case you missed meetings. I don't think anybody missed 3 consecutive meetings, which is the grounds for removal, but you might want to check anyway. Is there a motion to approve the 2022 annual report and to direct the city clerk to submit the report to the chief judge in accordance with the statute?
Second, Sandberg.
Is there any discussion, or are there any corrections to the annual report? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Very good. The annual report is adopted. The next item is a report from the work group on recall of public officials. And Commissioner Smith, do you have a report for us?
Yes, I do. I think the copy of our report to the full Charter Commission was included with the agenda that was sent out for today's meeting, along with some exhibits, but I'll just kind of summarize what the work group did. We held 3 meetings. It was initiated based on a couple of comments that were received by members of the public that asked us to consider amending the charter to include for the recall of public officials. I would note that those are the only 2 comments that we received in favor of amending the charter. We received 1 other public comment that was in opposition. to allowing for the recall of public officials. So I think it's safe to say that there certainly is no movement from the public to amend the charter at this time. But in considering the merits of the proposal, we had 3 public meetings, and to summarize some of the reasons, I think the main reason that you might allow for the recall of elected officials would be based on the idea that it would help hold elected officials accountable before the next election. If we were to look at state statute, recall would only be allowed in a charter city. It's not allowed in a statutory city. So we did not come up with a proposal or a standard of how officials would be recalled, since we are recommending not to amend the charter. But under state law, for state officials, generally you're looking at malfeasance, nonfeasance, or commission of a serious crime, which is a gross misdemeanor. And so the reasons that we didn't think it was a good idea to amend the charter is that, first, there's already a provision in the charter that allows for removing elected officials. It's in Article 8, based on a 2/3 vote of the city council, an officer may be removed for cause. So we already had that provision. If there was something serious that happened, there is a provision that allows for elected officials to be removed. We had some concerns that recall might be used as a way to intimidate elected officials into acting in a certain way. You could potentially have a small group of people that would try to force their views or force a city council member or the mayor to vote in a certain way. That would potentially jeopardize the independence of elected officials in the decisions that they're making and the work that they are doing for the city. We received some information from the clerk's office on the cost of holding a special election. If it was a special election that was held outside of a regular election, for just a ward election, we would be looking at $600,000 to $800,000 to hold a special election. For a citywide election, it would be over $500,000. And there are other costs as well. There would be staff time that would be have to be used to evaluate a petition. There have been cases where there's an allegation that the standard for removing someone wasn't met, so maybe there's a petition that alleges some type of malfeasance. City council member might challenge that. There could be a lot of resources put forth through the city attorney's office in defending that if there were a lawsuit that was brought over the actual petition to remove someone. We would note that one of the attachments that in Minnesota, we only found one case where recall was ever effective in the city of Two Harbors. The mayor was removed in 2022 through a recall election process, but it doesn't seem that recall really is an effective means to remove elected officials either in Minnesota or throughout the country. There were a couple of cases where city council members resigned after a recall petition was brought, so it's hard to say what might have happened in those cases had the election moved forward. I think in conclusion, we just felt that providing for the recall of elected officials didn't promote the goal of good governance in the city. There's already a removal process that's set forth in the charter, and based upon the costs of potentially holding an election, our recommendation is that the Charter Commission not move forward with any proposal to amend the charter to provide for the recall of elected officials.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Commissioner Smith? Seeing none, Commissioner Smith, I'm going to take that as a motion by the work group that the Charter Commission take no further action on this recall initiative.
So moved.
And we don't need a second because it's a motion by a work group. Is there any discussion? An aye vote will sustain the findings of the work group and we will not move forward with additional public hearings. A no vote is a vote against the findings of the work group. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. That motion carries and we will not move forward with the recall amendment. The next item is a report from the Government Structure Implementation Work Group. and I'll call on Co-Chair Garcia to make that report.
Thank you, Chair Clegg and Commission. We have just begun meeting. We've had our second meeting, and so far we have looked at the government structure ordinance that was passed by the City Council. It was ordinance number 2022-045, and looked at what our structure, the city structure was before the ballot question and since the ballot question, and have kind of put out our work plan, so to speak, of how we're going to proceed with our work and what we're going to consider. And among those items is the recommendation from the work group to not put, since the work group is charged with amending the charter amendment, or the charter, to reflect the ordinance, it will need ultimately to be on the ballot, and the work group has agreed to not move that to the ballot in 2023, but rather put it on a subsequent year's ballot. So that, that is something to bring to the full commission, and we will continue our work.
I just would note that since the work group has decided that it would not put this on the ballot in 2023, if there is any challenge to that, or if anyone wants to speak in favor of putting it on the ballot earlier than 2024, now would be your opportunity to raise the issue. Hearing nothing, the work group will continue its work with a goal towards either 2024 or 2025. The next item is public comment. Is there any public commentary at this time? City Clerk Carl.
Mr. Chair, would be inappropriate of me not to take the opportunity to thank you. I've been with the city for 13 years, and as Commissioner Kozak pointed out, for most of those years you've been the chair of this body. I have worked very closely with the body throughout my tenure, and I have very much appreciated your service both to this body and to the community. I have found your leadership, as Mr. Kozak said, to be fair, consistent, and very even-tempered. It has provided for a body that truly has been able to make significant changes in a very short time, as you mentioned, to the city government and the enterprise that serves the community. And I wanted to have the opportunity to say on the record how proud I am to have worked with you, to collaborate with you. I found you to always be a good partner. I appreciated your perspective. I really appreciated your humor throughout all of that time. I know you're not leaving the body, but wanted to take the chance to say that I think that your leadership of this body certainly has secured a legacy that will long live past your service on this body and your time with the community. So thank you very much for myself, for my office, and I think from the staff perspective of the city of Minneapolis with which you have worked. Thank you.
Thank you, Casey. Seeing no further public comment, we will adjourn until our next meeting when Commissioner Ginder will answer any questions and solve all problems. We are adjourned.
That receipt has your space number and tells you exactly when your meter time expires. In some parts of town, you'll also find single space meters. They'll take quarters and dollar coins, and some will take credit cards too. To find out more about our meter